I used to think I just came from a messy family. Typical divorce. Some drama, a little trauma. But turns out my mom had a full-blown revenge plot, and I was the main weapon. When I finally figured it all out, I didn't just walk away. I hit her where it hurt the most. My parents divorced when I was 7. The memory's blurry, but I remember screaming. Not because they were fighting, not that night at least, but because I dropped my stupid cereal bowl and it shattered on the tile, and all I could think was, now Mom's gonna cry again. She did. But she cried a lot back then. Loud, ugly sobs, usually while holding the phone and shaking her head like the world had just imploded. I learned early to stay quiet when she was like that, and to hate my dad by default. He left us, she'd say like it was a curse. For some skank with fake boobs and a Botox soul. She'd spit the words like poison. And I'd nod. Of course I did. What kid wouldn't? She let me scream about him. Encouraged it, actually. When I'd smash his birthday present, she'd say, "That's right, baby. He deserves it." When I'd refuse to go to his house, she'd smile like I passed some kind of test. I remember the way she always made things transactional, even when it was supposed to be about love. If he wants to take you on vacation, he better pay for your passport. And your clothes. I'm not shelling out a dime for his bonding time. Back then that didn't feel weird. Felt like survival. Mom didn't have much money. She worked long hours and came home tired and bitter. But she was always in control. Of everything. She'd say, "Don't tell your dad about this." Whenever she bought something she didn't want him knowing about. Especially when it was stuff I needed. School trips, doctor visits, even braces. Everything was a battle she painted as noble. But here's the thing, my dad still tried. Even though she made it nearly impossible. I'd get these random voicemails from him when I was a teenager. Super generic like, "Hey kiddo, hope you're good. Let me know if you need anything." They always felt cold. Detached. Now I know why. She never let him be real with me. When I was 13 I asked for a laptop. Mom said we couldn't afford it. 2 days later, a brand new MacBook appeared in our kitchen with a note. "Love, Dad." I asked where it came from and she rolled her eyes. "He's trying to buy you. That's what he does. Don't fall for it." Then she made me return it. I cried the entire way to FedEx. She told me crying was weak, and that he'd only win if I gave in to his manipulations. That's how she framed everything. Him versus us. Like she was the queen and I was her heir. And he was the traitor. When I turned 15 things shifted. She stopped calling him the enemy, and started seeing him as a wallet. "If he wants to play Father of the Year, he can pay for your college," she said, sipping boxed wine like it was a potion. She started using me and worse, training me like I was a tool. "If he wants to visit, tell him you're busy. Unless he offers to pay for your SAT classes." I thought it was smart. Like, yeah, why shouldn't he pay? Mom always said he abandoned us. This was payback, right? I'd send guilt-tripping texts. She'd help me write them. Stuff like, "I guess I'm not worth it to you unless there's a check attached." And when he did send money, she'd laugh. Like she just scored another point in an invisible game. But sometimes, when I was alone, I'd replay his voicemails and wonder why he always sounded so tired. Like he wanted to say more but didn't know how. When I was 22, everything unraveled. I had moved out. Barely talked to my dad anymore. He was just a shadow, this figure who sent birthday cards and PayPal transfers but never really connected with me. Until I got a call. Random. Late on a Tuesday. "Can we talk?" he said. His voice cracked. Not dramatic, just real. I don't know why I said yes. Maybe I was just tired of pretending things didn't bother me. We met at a diner. Neutral ground. He looked older. More gray, more lines around his eyes. He ordered me pancakes like he used to. I didn't even argue. Then he pulled out a folder. Thick. Tabbed. Inside. Emails. Letters. Voicemails. Court filings. Copies of texts, ones I never saw or didn't remember. He laid it all out. His attempts to see me. His lawyers trying to get more visitation. Screenshots of texts he sent. Ones where he asked to talk, asked if I was okay, tried to send birthday gifts. Then, a printed message thread between my mom and him. Fake texts. Messages she sent pretending to be me. She wrote things like, "I don't want to see you anymore. Stop contacting me." I hate you. You ruined my life. I stared at the printouts. The dates lined up exactly with when he stopped showing up. My throat dried up. Everything I believed, the pain, the abandonment, the silence, wasn't from him. It was orchestrated. By her. He said quietly. I tried, kiddo. I really tried. And I knew he wasn't lying. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I went home. Hugged my mom. Smiled while she rambled about her job and gossiped about her coworkers. And I started planning. You see, my mom's greatest weakness wasn't me. It was her pride. Specifically, how much she loved being the trusted one in our family. She managed my uncle's small business finances. Always bragged about being his right hand. She called herself the brains behind the books. It was her favorite thing to talk about during Thanksgiving. So I got curious. Really curious. I asked my uncle if he needed help sorting receipts one weekend. Just to practice accounting, I said. He was thrilled. That's when I started digging. And what I found was worse than I imagined. She thought I was still loyal. That was her first mistake. After my meeting with Dad and going through the printouts and voicemails she buried, I didn't react. I didn't ask questions. I didn't even act distant. I hugged her the next day and made her tea. I asked her about work, about my uncle's business, even about her coworkers who always seemed to hate her. She grinned, flattered that I cared again. Told me, it's all fine. Your uncle would be lost without me. I basically run everything behind the scenes. I nodded like a good kid. I asked small, innocent questions. What accounting software do you guys use? Do you keep backups anywhere? How do you organize receipts? She answered everything. She was proud of her role. That was her weak spot, the pride. The need to be seen as the smart one, the competent one, the reliable one in the family. She never shut up about how my uncle wouldn't last a month without her. I smiled every time she said it, as I was already digging. My uncle owned a small chain of car repair shops. 3 locations. Modest but steady income. My mom had been his bookkeeper for almost 10 years. No contract, just family trust. Every Thanksgiving, every birthday, she'd joke about how she cooked the books just enough to keep everyone happy. We all laughed. Except she wasn't joking. I started visiting my uncle more often. Told him I was interested in business. He was flattered. Finally, someone in this family wants to learn something useful. I offered to help with paperwork. Said I could organize old files, help digitize stuff. He handed me boxes of invoices and gave me access to the backup computer in the office. You're the only one I trust besides your mom, he said. That stung, but I smiled. I spent 2 months building a timeline. I created spreadsheets, cross-checked payments, tax filings, supply orders, employee timesheets, and compared them to bank statements. Patterns started emerging. Tiny overcharges. Duplicate entries. Equipment that was purchased 3 times on the same day, then never actually delivered. Thousands of dollars unaccounted for, spread over years. Rounded numbers that didn't make sense. Vendor names I couldn't verify. I found a consulting company she paid monthly. Turns out it was an account registered to her under a fake name. Not very well hidden either. It was like she didn't expect anyone to ever check. Probably because she assumed no one ever would. Especially not her kid. I printed everything. Annotated it. Created a damn report with tabs and color codes. Then I sat down with my uncle. He laughed when I said I found some inconsistencies. He stopped laughing 10 minutes in. I let the receipts speak for themselves. He kept flipping pages like he was waiting for a punchline. She said we were breaking even because of inflation, he mumbled at one point. She said the IRS screwed up the refund last year. I nodded. She lied. A lot. He just sat there staring at the numbers. Why would she do this? I didn't answer. That wasn't my job. My job was to burn the illusion. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He just said, I need to talk to her, and left. That night she called me 3 times. I didn't answer. The next day my uncle posted a message in the family group chat. Short. Clinical. Effective immediately. My sister will no longer be involved in my business. Do not contact me for her matters. That was it. Silence fell over the group. My aunt called me 10 minutes later. What the hell is going on? I told her everything. I sent her the files. I sent them to all of them, Every cousin, every sibling, every relative who had ever called my mom the strong one or the survivor. And then I told them the rest. About the fake messages. About how she used me to manipulate my dad. About the web of lies she spun around her entire life and mine. Some of them didn't believe me at first. But I had proof. Screenshots. Audio. Originals. I sent one voice message where she literally coached me as a teenager on what to say to get more money from my dad. Tell him you're failing math but don't actually show him your grades. Say it's because of stress. Cry if you have to. My cousin replied with one word. Jesus. Another just wrote, "What the fuck, man?" I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. The story told itself. The fallout was fast. She was removed from every family event planning chat. Uninvited from 3 birthdays. My uncle froze the business account and started the process of auditing the past 7 years. She lost access to everything. She didn't call me for 2 days. Then she showed up at my apartment. She knocked. Calm. Too calm. I opened the door. She smiled like nothing happened. "Can we talk?" I let her in. She sat down like it was any other Tuesday. She said, "I don't know what lies your father told you, but..." I cut her off. Handed her a folder. She flipped through the pages. The color left her face. For the first time in my life I saw panic in her eyes. "You set me up," she said. I shrugged. "You set me up for 15 years. Her jaw clenched. "He got to you." "No," I said. "The truth did." Silence stretched between us. Then she tried a new angle, tears. Real or fake, I couldn't tell. "I did everything for you. Everything. I protected you." I stared at her. "From what? A father who loved me?" She stood up, shaking. "You don't understand what it was like with him. You were too young." I nodded. "And you made damn sure I stayed that way." She left in silence. No screaming. No threats. Just a broken look in her eyes. But I wasn't done. After she left my apartment, I sat there for a long time. Just still. No music. No lights. Just that low hum of silence that sits heavy after a war. But it wasn't over. She'd spent years building this throne for herself. This illusion that she was the martyr, the victim, the backbone of the family. She used people like chess pieces. She used me like a pawn. And I just kicked the board off the table. Now I wanted to make sure she couldn't rebuild it. Not ever. The thing about people like her? They don't stop. They pivot. Reframe. Rewrite. I knew the moment she left my place she'd start damage control. Spin a new story. I was brainwashed. I was manipulated. I'd turned on my own mother for money, for male approval, for my deadbeat dad. Predictable. And I was ready for it. 2 days after the confrontation, she posted a long rant on Facebook. Classic script. Vague but sharp, full of certain people and family betrayal and after all I've done. She didn't name me directly, but anyone who read it knew. Comments rolled in. "Stay strong, Queen. You don't deserve this. They'll regret turning on you." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I let her build her false little army. And then I dropped the truth. I posted a thread of my own. Public. Calm. Factual. I attached screenshots. Financial records. Excerpts from voicemails. The text messages she faked. The dates. The discrepancies. The lies. No anger. Just receipts. Literal and digital. I didn't attack her. I just revealed her. That's the difference. The post exploded. Relatives messaged me in waves. Some apologized. Some were furious at her. One of my cousins called and said, "I feel like I need a therapist after reading that. I believed everything she said for years." Another relative, someone I barely even knew, sent me a DM that simply read, "She did the same thing to my dad when they were younger. Nobody listened." That shook me more than I expected. I wasn't her first lie. I was just her longest one. But the real consequences, they came slower, quieter. My uncle officially filed charges for embezzlement. I told him I didn't care what happened, it was his call. He said, "She stole from me. Lied to me. Family or not, that's a crime." He didn't go nuclear. He went legal. She tried to offer him a deal, to pay back what she could if he dropped everything. He didn't even respond. Then came the eviction. Her name was on the lease for a small house my grandmother owned. After everything came out, the family agreed to reclaim it. She had 30 days to leave. The woman who used to call herself the glue of the family suddenly couldn't get anyone to pick up her calls. And still I didn't feel triumphant. Not exactly. Just clean. Like I'd finally scraped something rotten off my skin. There were moments though that punched me in the chest. One night I got drunk and found an old photo album. Me at 6 clinging to her leg. Halloween costume she made. Notes in my lunchbox she used to sneak in. I'm proud of you. You're my sunshine. Lies? I don't know. Maybe half lies. Or maybe she believed it in her own warped way. That didn't make it better. It just made it hurt differently. Around that time Dad invited me to stay with him. Not just a visit. A real move. First I hesitated. There was still that echo in my head, her voice. He abandoned you. He left us. He doesn't want you. But that voice wasn't mine anymore. And it wasn't true. So I packed my stuff and moved in with my dad. And it was quiet. Not in a bad way. No eggshells. No mind games. Just space. And patience. He didn't ask me to talk about it. He just made pancakes in the morning and asked if I liked my coffee black or with cream. That first night he left a note on my door. Glad you're here. No pressure to be okay. I sat on the floor and cried with the door closed. Reading it over and over like it was a map out of a place I didn't realize I'd been trapped in. Weeks passed. Then months. I found a job nearby. Helped my uncle review the last of the records. He gave me a share of what he recovered, said I earned it. I didn't argue. I used part of it to pay off student loans. The rest I saved. And my mom? She tried one last time. She emailed me. Long subject line. I hope one day you'll understand. The message was even longer. 8 paragraphs of justification. Blame. Tears typed out in run-on sentences. She said she had to do what she did. That I would have hated him if I'd known the truth. That she was the one abandoned. That she sacrificed everything. That I betrayed her. That I was ungrateful. Disloyal. Brainwashed. That she'd never recover from what I did. I didn't reply. I didn't even finish reading it. I archived the email, blocked her address, and took a long walk around the block. When I came home, my dad was watching TV. I sat next to him and didn't say anything. He didn't push. Just nudged the popcorn bowl toward me. And in that silence, I knew I'd made it out. Life didn't magically fix itself. There's no Hollywood arc where the hurt vanishes and everything becomes golden. Slower than that. Quieter. Like waking up in a house where no one's yelling. Like realizing you don't have to be at war all the time. Like knowing the silence in your head isn't dangerous anymore. That's what it was like living with my dad. Steady. Uneventful in the best way. Some mornings I still brace myself for tension like muscle memory. Like waiting for a text from her saying I needed to call this relative. Or that I owed her for something. Or that I made her cry in her sleep. But those texts never came. Because she was gone. And I made sure she'd stay that way. The last ripple hit during Christmas. Our first one as a family, me and Dad, in over a decade. He got a tree. Real. Crooked. Smelled like pine and nostalgia. I helped him string up lights. We didn't talk about the past much. He let me bring it up if I wanted, and if I didn't, he never pushed. That kind of patience? It was like a foreign language to me. On Christmas Eve, he handed me a box. Inside was the same MacBook model he tried to give me years ago when I was 15, the one Mom made me return. I figured you could use it, he said, like it wasn't a big deal. But it was. That night I cried again. Not because I was sad, but because I'd spent so long believing he didn't care. And now I knew how hard he fought to stay in my life, and how hard she worked to keep him out. Meanwhile, her name started disappearing from everything. Family events. Business ties. Conversations. People stopped asking about her. When they did, it was in hushed tones. Did you hear what happened? How could she do that to her own kid? She always seemed a little off. The woman who once orchestrated every family gathering now wasn't even invited to birthdays. And not by my demand. They did it themselves. One cousin messaged me weeks later and said, "It's like she evaporated." Another, "She tried calling my mom to explain, but she just kept talking in circles." Still saying you sided with the enemy. We're done with her. The real twist? Even her friends dropped her. Turns out she borrowed money from 3 of them using different excuses. Rent, medical bills, car repairs. None of it true. Once everything unraveled, they compared stories and saw the pattern. One of them left a comment under her cryptic post saying, "I hope you finally learn how to tell the truth, even to yourself." She deleted the post after that. I haven't seen her in person since that day in my apartment. I haven't spoken to her either. But once, just once, I did run into her. Total accident. At a grocery store of all places. She looked hollow, like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. Hair pulled back in a rushed bun. No makeup. No performance. Just a woman in sweatpants staring at canned soup like it owed her something. She saw me before I saw her. Our eyes met. For half a second I saw something flicker in her face: shame, rage, heartbreak. Maybe all 3. But she didn't say a word. Neither did I. She turned around and walked away. I didn't follow. I didn't owe her a scene. That was 6 months ago. Since then the silence has held. She doesn't contact me anymore. And I don't look for her. I'm rebuilding. Me and Dad are figuring it out day by day. There's still a lot of broken pieces, a lot of years lost to her manipulation. But we've got time now. Real time. Unpoisoned. I'm learning what a parent-child relationship actually looks like. One built on choice. On truth. Not guilt or leverage or obligation. Sometimes I do feel sad. Not regret. Not guilt. Just a quiet ache. Because no matter how monstrous she became, she was still my mom. I remember her brushing my hair before school. I remember the way she danced in the kitchen when a song she loved came on. I remember the smell of her perfume and how safe it used to make me feel. But then I remember everything else. The stolen messages. The forced tears. The manipulation. The control. The lies. And I remind myself, that safety wasn't real. It was a cage disguised as love. She turned my entire childhood into a revenge mission. A long con designed to punish my dad using me as the currency. And in the end she lost everything. Her job. Her status. Her image. Her control. She still tells people I betrayed her. But no one's listening.